The Mellons are running high finance gangster control over my affairs and have been for many decades. For example, they used the look-alike of Ichiro on the bus who gave a signal of Edgar Martinez after a man who suggested Edgar Martinez stepped up to the exit door. When you're talking about subliminal suggestion, these monsters are very good at it. They've been researching it for a long time. Now, the public schools of Ohio have no right to abandon Mackenzie Shirilla to this business. She's a victim of a terrifying PlayStation operating out of Carnegie Mellon, and I'll explain to you some of the evidence for this idea. Okay, I do not believe the B-grade motion picture story about teen jealousy that the oh so distinguished judge read into the mystery of what happened to her. And when I say mystery, the focus of the mystery is on the psilocybin that was in the car. I'll get back to that. I want to talk to you about this card. Since I'm only going to discuss one thing that's on this card, you might want to do a screenshot of it if you want to do a full indexical analysis of this very mysterious card that was found here in Tacoma. Call attention to only that it says Mark Wagner from 1974 was the last person to check out this book. The reason why that's interesting is because it's conspicuous, right? The book is on religion in the Soviet Union. Again, do a screenshot if you want to do your own full analysis of the signifiers on that card. I'll hold it up one last time so you can get everything. Now, the probability is small that that just happened. Wagner is, of course, notorious for being a military unit in Russia, and the Tacoma Community College is notorious for being a militarized campus. There are signifiers all over the campus. Okay, it's called indexology. Now, someone could say there's a small percentage of chance that it's just chance. And there's a clear indication of intent, which can be denied. So it's plausible denial, but it's also emblematic. So when you look at the characteristics of what was done to Mackenzie Shirilla, you're dealing with an emblematic characteristic. For example, the choice of a child named Mackenzie. The people doing this are ravagers from the British Empire representing Yoko Ono and Paul McCartney. How do I know that? Well, there are letters online that show that they stashed the claim that John Lennon could have been saved by me. And they've hotwired into the situation to depict me as autonomically destructive. After you can see they used a nerve agent on me, a personality change chemical. They used a personality change chemical on me. And who were these people? Wattenmaker and Mackenzie. So you have this situation where we're in the midst of a Holocaust. I mean, the evidence, I didn't just conjure up Mackenzie Shirilla. She landed, if you look at my research, you'll see where she landed in the frame analysis of the Holocaust ordeal that Father Mackenzie has wiped his hands and walked from the dirt. No one was saved. For McCartney, personally, whose rabid animal Peter Gabriel was after me personally for 3 years. He only started after he poached me with an attack prostitute who squirted her virginity on me. It's as a tomato in the face from McCartney. He only then went undercover and stopped admitting openly that he was obsessed with queerball, as they called me, which is a Liverpool derogatory. They started calling me that when I was very little. But she was selection for MS, which is Martin Sheen. Anybody who checks the record knows that Martin Sheen has been fabulating about me from time immemorial. And there was a reckless driving. And so you see, these psychopaths have a narrative they want to tell where I was a juvenile delinquent to blame for something. And they basically were running hot poison drugs through American society with the mandate, get them to do it so that we can hold them to blame for it when we spread AIDS. So LSD and AIDS were part of the same Holocaust plot. Now, Mackenzie Shirilla was enculturated as a child to the normalization of drugs that should never be trafficked, and she was first completely at sea. Why is this being done so openly? And she started pantomiming. This was done openly. This is being done openly. She even went on TikTok to show how openly it was done. Nobody went in and wrested from her. These things are weapons that are being put on you because everybody's defending the Beatles. So the Beatles did this as a crash test for their impunity. It's a crash test for their impunity. And they used these children who had no idea of what sort of doctored substances were being put on them by who knows who. There's a gang, I call it the Gateway Gang. They operate out of Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania and Ohio. Human trafficking gang that was involved in it. Look at this logically. Okay, I'm talking to a judge who found her guilty of two life sentences, which is absurd. And I know the two men were killed. I'm not stupid. But she's in a power structure that included Wattenmaker. Okay, he was an Attica State Prison psychiatrist. Now, suppose these people were behind the psilocybin. Okay, Wattenmaker was behind the LSD that was used to poison me. If you try to break their gridlock, in other words, if you say, I'm going to join into the war on drugs, you're automatically a criminal because they are the law enforcement. In other words, law enforcement is one of the people who should have been looked into as the source of that psilocybin. And she was taken hostage because the simpletons of Ohio and Western Pennsylvania refused to recognize their own children as at the mercy of their own compromises with illicit trafficking because of the entertainment system. I have found a whole Axis network that killed John Kennedy and Bobby and Martin and even scripted it, tied to Wattenmaker, which is a very indexical name, Wattenmaker. Explosions of nuclear bombs, Wattenmaker, mega wattage. Okay, and he openly ran a Frankenstein experiment. If you get the East Liberty telephone directory of 1974, 1973, 1975, and 1976, just the East Liberty directory, it was very small and slender and put out by Bell Telephone, I believe. There was a Dr. Frankenstein listed on Bunker Hill. Okay, this is a continued hit job. These were personality change chemicals. Burston is like the exorcist, the enemy within. Remember Bobby Kennedy's book? It has a cadaverous hand on the cover. Burston is the name that Edna Ray Galuli chose to adopt Ellen Burstyn for The Exorcist. The enemy within, the change from within, right? And it's a play on Man is Man by Bertolt Brecht called I Am the Walrus, which is I am he as you are here. And you say, even Hitler? And they're saying, and then they go, not even. Hitler's not even. And this sort of obsessive macabre is coming from the British Empire. It's obsessive macabre. The whole notion of inducing a crash is so that they can gesticulate about what was done or happened with Princess Diana, which they project. They just say, they just conjure it. The whole thing is a conjuring con job. There are other indications that Shirilla was selected for this. The rhyme and rhythm of Shirilla comes out of Tom Shirell, whose sister was nearly hit by a racing vehicle by the men who kidnapped and tortured me. And remember, Roger Waters is adamant that these people were my friends. They tortured me. We had to move to get away from them. Okay? I had the option of moving to get away from them. But I know what it felt like to be on the hostage. They were going to kill me. I felt like I was a lost soul. I can't imagine smashing a car, but I can imagine the psilocybin leading somebody to overthrow their judgment and being calculated to do that. How do I know that? Because they described in great detail the letters. This was completely ignored by Peter Gabriel, who claims he found the letters rather than wrote them. He wrote them. They described in great detail the personality change that these letters caused, which was jealousy. So they knew the ingredient to cause jealousy. They knew the ingredient, and I resisted. So they know the ingredients that they're using to induce personality change, sudden crisis. And they chose a child. That's how sick these people are. They chose a child. And the abominable Ohio State system of justice put the child that they chose on trial as an adult, despite the evidence that they were targeted and being used and taken hostage. I understand the bereavement of the families. Believe me, I understand them. I have wept and wept and wept at my own personal losses. I know what personal loss feels like. And I'm ashamed that it happened because so many people are complicit in it. But they were complicit in their own undoing by not understanding what was going on with the trafficking situation, by playing along with the bandoleros that come out of Swami land, of the Axis entertainment system that has grabbed American society and is constantly throttling it. I understand the bereavement of the families. Believe me, I understand bereavement. But to be vindictive is irresponsible. That girl was among fellow people who showed her mutual love. There's no investigation into whether she was being trafficked, and I don't propose to project my own thinking on what happened because I have put a stop to my investigation. The more I learn, the more angry I'm afraid I'm going to be. The more sick it's going to make me. Bereavement is understandable, but vindictiveness is abandonment. And you're abandoning it because you're afraid of yourselves. You're afraid of implicating yourselves. You're afraid of understanding what you witnessed because you don't want to take on what you witnessed. It's cowardly.